The kit I chose for this is an MS-06 F2 Zaku II F2. It's a pretty basic kit, but I wanted to test painting in full acrylics, and also still has some nice details. What you get in the kit is a decal sheet, which I won't be using as I have water slides. I have the manual, I have a runner of polycaps, and 5 runners for all the other parts. I also did the entire build live on Twitch. If you'd like to hang out with me or build along with me, I'll have a link down below, Twitch TV/Murdoch's Garage. And with that, let's get started with the assembly. I couldn't find my nippers, so I actually had to use an X-Acto knife for this entire build. Nippers are convenient and safer for cuts, but not absolutely needed. Here's how it looks built straight out of the box with no decals. It has some pretty decent details and articulation, even though the front kick is a little limited by the front skirt. And here it is compared to the FS variant instead of the F2. I originally bought this FS as a basic kit to get started painting, but I didn't realize how old the kit was and how dated some of the connections and pieces are. As you can see, the F2 has way more details all over the place, and in general is just a much better quality kit, especially when you turn it around and have a look at the jetpack. Now it's time to get started with paint prep. I start by disassembling the kit and then cleaning up the nubs left from the runners. I also give the entire surface a little sand to help the paint stick and flatten any irregularities in the surface. After paint prep, I wash the pieces and let them dry overnight. For this full acrylic build, I'm using Vallejo Gray with a little bit of thinner and some flow improver. Now it's time to add some color. I used Vallejo pretty much everywhere except for the darker green, which was Ammo by MIG. I start off by giving it a quick mist of color. After a quick flash dry from a blast of air, I go in for a couple more fine coats. Here's how the kit looks after color with no top coats. It was my first time doing full-on pre-shading and I was really happy with the results. I also really like the red details that I stole from the manual. Next I went on to a gloss clear coat so I could do some panel lining. And here's a little bit of panel lining just because it's so satisfying to watch. To push my skills and the model a little further, I wanted to try to make the eye stand out a bit more and also make a lens for the machine gun. I found another modeler on YouTube that had a trick similar to this. Use some aluminum foil as a reflector, get the size you need. Preferably use a punch to get the correct size of the circle, but I didn't have any, so I used some fingernail scissors to carefully cut it out. Here's what it looks like after it's complete. I checked the size against the eye and it seems like a perfect fit. Next, roll up some masking tape and stick the reflector to it. Then we're going to mix up some 5-minute clear epoxy. I did it a couple different ways. First I tried blending the color into the epoxy. It seemed to affect the dry time, but it did dry completely. You can see that my first mixing attempt was too dark, so I mixed some more epoxy and then just drug some of the darker into the fresh epoxy. Using a toothpick, carefully dab a few drops on top. It should flow out covering the reflector and leave a nice little dome. Here's what it looks like after a bit of dry time. The one on the left was my first attempt. I put too much on and it overflowed off the reflector. My second attempt is the darker purple, which will be the lens of the gun camera. To the right of that, you can see a completely clear one sitting on top of a reflector, which is going to be the eye. For the eye, I decided to try to make a transparent color to lay over top instead of blend into the epoxy. Here I'm just mixing some red Tamiya with some white, trying to get a reddish pink color. It's going to look a little over red to start, but as we make it transparent, it should thin out fairly well. To make your own color transparent, all you need is the color you want and some clear coat to mix in. This was my first time making my own transparent, and it took way more clear than I originally thought. I just gave it a good stir and tested it on a white spoon as I went, adding more and more clear until I was happy with the result. Here's what I ended up with. Now it's time to go full send and see what we get. Let that dry, glue it onto the kit, and here are the final results.